Hello, hello, hello. This is Dr. Troy.
And I'm Ben-Jamin Toy.
We're broadcasting from the Cohesion Culture headquarters in beautiful Charleston, South Carolina, where even when it rains, the sun still shines.
You're going to hear real-time stories from leaders confessing their most crucial or recent experiences in business.
Learn what their cost them, steps they took to fix it, and how they planned
to not do that one again.
All right. Welcome, Cohesive Leaders. Dr. Troy and I are joined today in the studio with Matt Dickerson. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
We are excited to have you. And we're just going to jump right in. But we're actually with a connection activity. So tell the audience and us something that we would not find on a LinkedIn bio or a resume, something personal about you.
Yeah, well, a couple things come to mind, although I tend to be an open book. So people know a lot about me, whether they like it or not. But one thing that people might not know about me is that I like to work in my workshop. I started messing around with a swing set, like a wooden swing set that we tore down 8 or 9 years ago. My dad got really sick and I needed something to occupy my brain. And I didn't know the difference between a flathead and a Phillips screwdriver. And I was the least handy person that you have ever met. And we tore down this wooden playset and I pulled it in. I had this harebrained idea that I was going to make a planter out of it. And so I started messing around with the wood and putting it together, and it was hideous. And I loved every second of it. And over the past 7-8 years, it's grown into a successful hobby. I've been fortunate enough to inherit some really nice equipment, and I've got a great space in my garage to do that. Unfortunately, I don't get out there as much as I'd like to, but I enjoy refinishing things and building things. In fact, the shelves that you see behind me are things that I put together with my own hands. And so just don't look too closely at them, but from afar, they look beautiful.
Well, Matt, that's usually the way it is. The closer up we get, the worse we look. So great job here. And I will tell you the really interesting thing about that is I grew up in a small town in West Virginia, very poor family. And my mom was the regenerator of things. Like anything we got turned into something else. So just to give you an idea, Christmas cards from one year would turn into a nut basket the next year, where she would she had a pattern, cut the cards, hole punched, use yarn, and actually put it all together and created this little bowl. And then, we would buy nuts. They were fairly inexpensive. And that's what we gave as little gifts to some of our neighbors. So it's kind of a crazy little thing, but repurposing stuff, that's such a great idea.
What was the most intimidating piece of equipment that you learned to work on?
Ooh, all of them. I still have a couple out there. I inherited a lathe from my father-in-law, and I was handy enough to build a very nice cart that it rolls around on. It weighs about 1 bazillion pounds. But I have yet to turn it on. It's very intimidating. So that's probably the one that takes the cake. But when you start working with power tools and you have no experience with them, everything is scary, and I think that's probably healthy. That probably keeps all my fingers intact and that sort of thing. If I'm appropriately scared of it, that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, really super.
My uncle has actually taken off the same finger 3 times. So,
Oh my gosh.
A healthy respect is important. He's cut it in both different angles and straight across. Only has 60% usage of it. But so, yes, healthy respect of the tools is definitely needed. So, okay, Matt, I'd love to learn something about you a little bit differently. I like to say who you are. What identity-wise, how would you describe yourself? Character, behaviors, things you aspire to, or if you leave the room, what would others say about you? Character traits, behaviors, things like that.
Yeah, no titles, just character traits.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'll share with some vulnerability. My core value is belonging. And so I would hope that when I leave the room, people would say things of that nature, that he belonged here, that he was welcomed here, that he fit in, not for
we'll just keep talking. That's right.
Well,
So
we love that he's belonging is a good one.
The belonging is his thing, because that's what it is for us, is belonging and going from invitation to involvement. And I think that's a little bit of what he was thinking about. So hopefully Matt will sign back in.
Yeah.
From a conforming perspective, but from a respectful perspective, right?
Yeah,
Are we
it's
back?
great. Yeah. We just keep going. So everyone's good. We just
Now-
filled in some gaps.
Well, we heard that you wanted that they would say they thought that you belonged. What in that scenario is on you to make sure you feel like you belong, or for others? So unpack that for us a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. And belonging in that situation is that Matt held the room well. He brought respect and inclusion to the conversation. And I think that's what I owe any audience, anybody that I'm with, is ultimately respect in that situation, and with the hopes that it would be mutual respect. And that's kind of where the belonging thing comes in, I think. I also want to be known as supportive. I believe that I was put on this earth from a professional perspective to coach and develop people, and honoring that focus on development. I promised to Troy that I'd leave titles out of it, but I can't help but to talk about personal professional development is what I want to be known for. And so I think that shows up. I think oftentimes that oozes from me, whether people want that introduced into the conversation or not. That's something that I have to be mindful of, because I can get really passionate about it. I believe also that people would know me as enthusiastic. Enthusiastic to be a part of a team, enthusiastic to lead, enthusiastic to just be here. There are very few situations where I don't show up with a mentality of, hey, let's make the best possible version of whatever we're doing right now.
That's really great. And I really appreciate you talking about the belonging, because, from our cohesive approach to things, we look at the three strategic elements of cohesion: belonging, value, and mutual commitment. And belonging comes full circle when people are included. So you go from invitation to involvement. And value is about meaningful work, really what you're doing. Does it have purpose? Does it make sense to you? Which it seems like it does, and you want to make it like that for others. And then in mutual commitment, that's usually where collaboration exists. And there you have need and trust. Everyone has to agree they need each other, and you trust people to tell the truth and to do their job, or to do whatever the task is at hand. So we seem to be kindred spirits when it comes to that. So I think we're off to a great start already. So now that we've understood a little bit more of those descriptive terms for you, now let's share your titles. What are some of your titles? We know that you're a coach, so we know that we heard a little bit about that and how you like to be that. But what are some other titles that are important to you?
Yeah, somewhat recently is author. I published a book a couple of years ago called Valued. Troy, building on your language there of need and trust and being valued. I'll be publishing a second book coming up here soon, and it's going to be part of a series called Valued, and really proud of that. That is turning out to be better work than I anticipated I'd be able to produce, because I believe it's bringing value to the audience. It is specifically aimed at emerging leaders or first-time managers. And that emerging leader group is a passion area for me, which is part of the reason I'm so excited to be with you and your audience today. I'm also known as owner. I'm the owner founder of Coaching for Clarity. We're a full service professional development services firm. We're up to a team of 15 now, and we provide executive coaching, leadership development, emerging leader programs, and some HR and sales funnel work as well. So I'm also newly minted as a professor. I accepted an adjunct professor role with IU Kelley School of Business, and am teaching there now, and really honored to be a part of dozens of students' journey, even if just in a small way. Going back to my kind of passion for people development, this is stretching that into new areas that's been really challenging and fun to explore. And I'm glad that the students are giving me good grace as I kind of learn the ropes of what it means to be a professor.
Yeah, really great. Yeah, just remember, if you show up 15 minutes late, we leave. So there.
Matt, what was the career that led to before the coaching? Hopefully you didn't start off like, hey, I'm done with school and now I'm going to coach, because where'd your experience, where'd your acumen come from?
Yeah, well, you can see the gray hairs on the video here. So I've got a few years of corporate experience. I spent 20 plus years in corporate environments, mostly in sales organizations, and mostly as a middle manager. My story is one of a career of being a middle manager primarily, but also working for a company that allowed me to be in, I joke, rooms that I probably should have never been in. And so I did a number of training rotations and service with the leadership development team. I did a project management rotation reporting directly to the head of commercial operations for our organization for about 15 months. And boy, from an uh-oh moment, I am no project manager. So we could dig into that a little bit. But they actually paid for me to become a certified executive coach, another room I probably definitely shouldn't have been in as a middle manager, but they chose to invest in me. And I believe I gave them good return on investment for that. But it changed my life. And so that led to doing some side work in the coaching world. And about 2 years ago, I broke out on my own, leading my own company and doing this full time, which every day I'm grateful for to be in this position.
That's really nice. Great. Thanks, Matt, for providing that little background so that we have an opportunity to really connect with you in ways that we wouldn't normally. Well, now I think it's time to jump into the purpose of our podcast, and that is for you to share this uh-oh experience that you're going to bring forward today. Just as a reminder, this uh-oh experience is something that's personal to you. It's not necessarily about the business. It could be about the business, but we want to hear it from your perspective, how it shaped or impacted your leadership. So what is the uh-oh experience that you plan to share with us today?
Yeah, I got to tell you, Troy, I really went back and forth on this one, because I think anybody that's been in leadership or in a work world for any amount of time is bound to have a bunch of moments. And so I think we can all kind of normalize that. We all mess up, and sometimes they're really big ones. I think the one that I wanted to explore today is probably one of my most vulnerable moments, which was coming to terms with the fact that I wasn't being inclusive of different voices on my team and in my environment. From a personality perspective, I'm kind of a hard charging, somewhat typical type A type of person, very extroverted. I've got the answer for everything. Just ask me. And I thrived early in my career on being that hard driver, particularly in a sales organization. As a sales rep, I was a typical high performer, although not at the top of my game. As a manager, particularly a younger manager, I was a hard driving manager. I had very high standards, and I tend to hire people that sounded a lot like me. Right. And oftentimes that worked well. My natural personality tends to work well in a sales environment. And my uh-oh moment really came when one of my team members filed a formal complaint against me in our company. And it came, for me, it really blindsided me. I think there were some elements of it that felt quite unfair. And even to this day, 10 years later, I still feel the pangs of it sometimes. And also, I really had to wrestle with the truth of there were some elements of it that were spot on. And there were things that I was doing wrong that were having a negative impact in ways that I was blind to see. And that was, as you might imagine, tough to come to terms with. The crux of it was that there were quieter, more deliberate, more introverted voices on my team currently, and also people that I had missed in the hiring or the transfer process, that I was creating an environment that didn't allow them to express themselves. And that was really tough for me to understand my responsibility in setting a culture that valued and celebrated and allowed space for those voices. And I underestimated, I think, what I was missing when I didn't allow that to happen. And yeah, go ahead.
I'm very interested in this because it really plays back to the very beginning of the podcast when you talked about the belonging, like how important that is to you, right? And so from that, so can you just please give us at least one or two examples of what it looked like when you didn't include someone? Was it in a
Absolutely.
meeting where you talked over them? What was it? Just some examples so that our listeners will have a better feel for what that means.
Yeah, it's a great question, and I can remember one meeting in particular was probably kind of the poster child for this affliction that I seem to be under. No, the trouble, Troy, was not that I was talking over people. I recognized early on that I needed to incorporate my team's voices into the process. What I underestimated was how much certain voices were dominating the conversation and the impact that had on the overall team cohesion and our mutual success. And I certainly didn't understand my role in that. And so it was even worse. I think it would have been easier to overcome if it was just, hey, Matt, shut up. Right. Like that would have been easier to identify and correct, I think. I thought I was, setting a tone where I want to hear from other people. And I just was setting the tone that I wanted to hear from certain people and maybe not others. And so there was one meeting in particular, we opened it up for discussion. We were faced with a kind of a predicament in our sales process, a really tough thing to overcome. And so I really wanted to get dialogue going because I knew I didn't have all the answers for this particular issue. And now I didn't recognize it in the moment, but now I look back and there was one team member in particular that did have all the answers, or just asked them, kind of my admitted affliction as well. Because he and I worked really well together. We had very similar personalities, and that's probably why we worked well together. We saw eye to eye. And I allowed this person to go on and on and on and on and on. There was another voice in the room that was a bit more negative, but often had many of the right answers. And so the combination of those two people completely drowned out a couple of people in the room. And I have to think, looking back on it, I wonder how much that was the impetus for the action, the impetus for this person to kind of raise their hand and say, hey, something's broken here, and Matt's not hearing us, and somebody needs to intervene.
How did you get to the bias? So, because that's what happens when you create an in group and an out group. You rely on a certain individuals. I know you said there was possibly some commonality because you got along really well. So could have been that. But can you just give us at least, a few things that contributed to this bias that you had where this individual who didn't get an opportunity to speak up, what was it that kept that from happening, or what was it that you really looked to for the other folks?
I think I had some mentality that we required a hard driving personality and like a can-do spirit in order to thrive in our environment. And I think, regardless of the environment that I was in or the company that I was working for, I think that probably would have been my approach at the time. And so anybody that didn't demonstrate that can-do attitude, moving to the, okay, what's next, or what can we do to fix the problem? Anybody that didn't have kind of this mentality of, well, we'll just make it work, or represented that in any way in conversation, I didn't have a lot of patience for. And so I thought that was us being solution-oriented or action-oriented, when in fact, I wasn't allowing people the space to process. Because we're all going to work through problems and issues in different ways. I wasn't allowing for that space to happen.
To me, it's a classic example of equating value to volume, to how loud, right?
Absolutely.
And so this was the example of the Babel effect in effect. And for those that don't know that, we often associate leadership or the best ideas with those that are heard the most. And so I'm glad that you're getting to this, and I'm looking forward to hearing what you did with that. But it's actually a very well studied thing in the book Quiet by Susan Cain, a really, really thick 2-inch book that really excites introverts. But from an extroverted standpoint, and with you got an incredible library, but it's an incredible book that actually I was given to by one of our clients, that it's called Quiet, how introverts can lead in a world that won't stop talking. And so I love hearing this. And so I'm looking forward to the next part of this, and then to see how it aligns with that. But this book talks about, a lot of times we equate that volume piece, everything that's happening very loudly. We just said, oh, this is the way it has to be. So exciting. What did it cost you? What was the actual cost to not listening to these others and having this bias, as we talked about?
Well, as I came to understand, my team was not performing at maximum capacity or maximum execution, because there were dissenting voices. There were other ideas that were being suppressed. And so, what that led to was, over the next couple of years, I think we were less effective and produced smaller results than we would have otherwise. If I had allowed those voices to be present in those early conversations. From a career perspective, you might imagine that this type of news surrounding me was not, something that enhanced my promotability or my, inclusion in other projects and special things. I had to fix my house, get my house in order, so to speak, before I could move on to bigger and better things. And so it certainly had a negative impact on other people's perceptions of my leadership ability, even outside my team. And so I own that. Like that's 100% on me. I think ultimately it had damage on individuals too. And that's something that I had to work through. And I am proud to say that I was able to repair a number of those relationships. I was able to kind of turn the ship, so to speak, to help those voices be elevated and promoted and openly valued in ways that clearly benefited my team. But that was a long, hard road, as you might imagine. It required repairing a lot of trust, and developing kind of that long-term strategy that rewarded those folks for speaking up.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, though, when you were given this information that said, okay, you're not including voices, this is a little negative impact to you as a manager, that you're not as inclusive as you think you are in doing all that. How with that situation, with that context of what we're looking for, listening to from you, how were you able to fix that? How were you able to repair that work? Like, what was it that went into repairing the relationship?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it starts with admitting fault, right? Without conditions. I was wrong about that one thing, but you introduce a but into that sentence in any of these conversations, and it's not going to work well, in my opinion. And so sitting down with folks one-on-one and having those conversations of, hey, I hear you, I hear this, I accept responsibility for what has transpired here. That also needs to be done publicly, right? So I needed to position that in front of the people that I had previously been rewarding to. And then developing a plan that has very clear action steps that indicate to others that you're making progress in the particular area that you're being criticized on. So open, honest conversation, open communication. Ultimately, part of my process was an appeal for grace, right? Like, this is going to be an iterative process for me. I can't, relearn overnight. And so if I misstep in a future moment, I'm, requesting that you confront me on that you let me know that I'm stepping out of line. And then I have to be open to that criticism when it comes. And I have to be immediately open to it, as opposed to being defensive in future iterations of that too. It's tough. It's a step-by-step process. But I think it all starts with just open, honest dialogue, and then responding really well when they have the courage to confront you on things.
Actually, with that courage, how did this situation come to light? Was it them bringing you aside, mentioning it? Was it in a group setting, or did someone go to HR? Like, how was the issue approached and addressed to you?
Yeah, they filed an official complaint through HR, and that's how all of a sudden I was on the phone with some folks that I don't normally talk to, and they were delivering the news that I was messing up and messing up bad, and this needed to be a course correction immediately, so to speak. Looking back on it, I wonder, Ben, like how many times they tried to approach me with concerns and maybe I just didn't hear it or didn't see it or wasn't open to the conversation. I don't have memories of being actively divisive about it or like dismissive, I guess is the better word for it. I don't have memories of that, but I'm sure that had to have occurred. And ultimately, it wasn't their responsibility necessarily to confront me on that. It would have been helpful if they could have gotten through to me before this kind of big event occurred. But it's my responsibility to understand that. Your listeners aren't going to believe it, but Ben, you and I didn't talk about this before. They're not going to believe that, but Susan Cain's Quiet was transformative for me. I was introduced to it about the same time. And she makes a point to really register this idea that it's not introverts' responsibility to speak up more or to be more commanding or to be more frequent in their contributions. It's extroverts' responsibility to allow space for that to happen. And so that ownership, like that was a key idea for me that wasn't super clear in my early career. And reading that, I remember distinctly the chair I was sitting in and the time of day, and reading that passage and reading it over and over and over, because it hit me like a ton of bricks that it's my responsibility to make that room. And that was an amazing experience and something that I recount often. I know we'll move eventually into kind of how do I keep these learnings active? Recounting the experience of reading that passage over and over and over is something that frequently enters my brain. To go back to the original thought, they probably tried to raise these concerns, and I just wasn't even cognizant to allow for those conversations.
Yeah. So Matt, are you open to a little coaching?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. So in the beginning, when you introduced this section, you said that our listeners wouldn't believe this. So for us, that's limiting language. And so it's something that we try to inspire to our emerging leaders to not put things out there that don't need to be put out into the universe, that are going to somehow, flavor the individual's thinking in a way that may not necessarily have the same positive impact that you want. So I just would offer the opportunity for you to just say, look, this is going to be incredible that you're going to hear this. And then you get to share that. And my listening is so much different than it was when you conditioned me to think of it in a negative way.
So true. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're welcome. Well, this is what we do for a living. If I were
we're all together, right?
Listen, I do a lot of talking. I need to get coached myself, so this all works out great.
And just to go back to Quiet, I really loved taking away from it the idea of the brain writing section of it, and that's one of the ways, because I'm actually the introvert, and I'm
really?
often confused as that, because I've got people skills and sales skills, and I can be loud, but for a very short amount of time, right? And so, but brain writing is one of the things that I've realized that's been a very helpful tool to get everybody to submit ideas. We then are able to discuss those ideas based on the merit of the idea, not who's attached to them. So that's been a fun one.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's dig into. We have a few minutes here, and I know that you've actually given us some great stuff ahead of time, but what are some of the things you do? What are 2 or 3 of the things you do today to make sure that you stay on top of, that situation, so that does not happen again?
Well, fortunately, around that same time, I went through my executive coach training, which taught me all kinds of very practical skills to listen better. So the idea of active listening and being present and intentional in conversations. And so there's a number of tools that I can deploy. If I find myself getting away in conversation, sometimes my reorientation comes physically. So a big thing for me is having feet flat on the ground. That's often why I do take conversations like this standing, because my feet will inevitably be flat on the ground. I'm not sitting in a chair where they can be askew. And so physically grounding myself might sound like a little thing, but to me, that is really important. Oftentimes in my coaching sessions, I'll invite clients to explore what's the physical need that they have in the moment, and what's the small tweak that they can make with their body, whether it's breathing or sitting upright or grounding yourself or whatever the thing is, to explore that, to see what that might do to creating an environment for them where change or relaxation or a lack of anxiety is possible. Physical things are really important for me, Troy. The other thing, you commented on the books behind me. I read a lot. And so that perspective from other voices reminds me that there's so much I don't know. There's so much that I need to learn. And there's so much value that comes from other people if we just pause and allow that information to enter our brain. And so reading is a really big part of my self-monitoring, maybe in a not so conventional way. And then thirdly, I think we all have the opportunity to set mechanisms of feedback that are helpful for us. And so for me, my wife of 25 years is a great sounding board for me. When I have a moment where I say, hey, I wonder if I overstepped here. I wonder if I reverted back to bad behaviors. I can go to her and say, hey, what do you think about this situation? And she has the beauty of honesty. She's going to give me the truth every time. And she has great discernment for that, particularly being an extrovert and somebody that often gets talked over herself. She's a very good sounding board. And then I'm lucky to be surrounded by a number of people, not unlike you just did, Troy, where they're able to recognize a coaching moment and have the courage to speak into it for my benefit. So physical things, people around me, like my spouse, and then putting myself in coaching or feedback loops can kind of keep me going in this direction.
It's really awesome, Matt. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you so much for being transparent about this, and really just giving our listeners an opportunity to understand that it's not, we have mishaps, we have missteps, we have mayhem, but it all tends to work out if we put ourselves in a position to learn and grow from it. Now, we know that you prepared a lot for our session today. So one of the things that we like to ask you is, what question did you think we would ask today that we didn't?
I think that's a great question. I love that tool, right? What did we not talk about? I think I'm always eager to explore, personal professional development in all forms. What I thought you might ask me about was, based on the story that I presented, kind of the negative side or the blind spots to my personality. Where else, personality leanings might show up in my work or something like that. But that's a bit of a bias towards, I just really enjoy those conversations.
Well, that's an interesting thing to bring up. So let's go down that path.
I'd love to. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Excuse me.
What did you learn from those leanings, things like that?
I think I do a lot of work in personality assessments, behavioral assessments. I do a lot of that kind of work with my clients. I also do a lot of that work in emerging leader programs. And there's kind of one truth that I hold on to, oftentimes, and I asked this of my students in a recent class. I said, whose responsibility is it in a relationship to adjust to the others? And I get various answers, and I love asking the question because it's kind of a trick question from my perspective. And I say, ultimately, it's yours. It's yours. And especially the more you know about personality tendencies and people's natural predispositions, the more you understand about human behavior and how people show up differently, I think it's our opportunity to come to those interactions interpersonally with grace, and to understand that they're not doing things because they inherently want to be negative or want to be a thorn in your side or want to be different than you'd like them to show up. I think at the core, people are just trying to do the best they can. And, you know, Brene Brown writes about this as well. I love how she talks about how her husband came to this conclusion too. And he basically said that his life is better if that's the way he thinks about things, right? That people are just trying to do the best they can. And I think from a personality perspective, if we understand that, you know, this person is not asking me a lot of questions because they're trying to be annoying or because they don't trust me in this work environment, they're asking a lot of questions because they have a personality disposition that they really need a lot of information. They like all the data. They want to know all the things, and they're really good at looking at situations from all angles. And that's why they're asking the questions, because they want this project to succeed, or they want this team to do better, or they want this relationship to work. And so leaning into the responsibility that we have to adjust our behaviors or our understanding of other people's behaviors to meet them halfway is kind of a critical issue that I love to talk about whenever I can.
It's really great. You know, what you're speaking a lot about is your own self-awareness, and then how you will self-regulate yourself, which is part of Goleman's, you know, emotional intelligence, and being able to reflect on that. So we really appreciate you sharing that with our audience today, to have them think through for themselves. Like, the accountability and responsibility always rests with self, right? So it's our job. And I remember for me, like, a very important change occurred in my life whenever I declared that what I had today was the best that I have. Like, this is it. Instead of even, and it doesn't mean that I don't drive forward, but it was the acceptance that what I have today is good, and not that I have to move somewhere else because it has to be better. It's just that I want to move in that particular direction, and for whatever those reasons are, and not get all trapped up into advancing because I am so dissatisfied with where I currently am. It's like having an appreciation, having a gratitude. You spoke a lot about gratitude today. That is such an important mindset to have the gratitude, to understand the concepts and the things that are impacting your life, and then thankful for the individual things that you may receive. So you're grateful for your wife, you're thankful for what she says. So really, really great having you, Matt, today. So thank you so much for being a part of our experience for our listeners. We'll close out today, like we do all of our Cohesion Culture programs, with this simple mantra: you don't have to know everything.
You just need to be teachable.